Hello, welcome. Episode 40. Hope things are amazing or better than other times. Perspective. When one gets silent enough to hear the symphony of sounds that exists in nature, it's more than you can imagine. Shamans learn to isolate specific sounds and weave in and out of the different ways in which you can listen while flooding your eyes with the beauty of the world, while breathing in a particular way that allows for that to shift your reality so that you start to see the soft side of energy and the hard world goes away and everything gets really incredible. I've been learning to sustain that for periods of time so that you can get to know that space without overreacting. This happens to people and then they write a book about it, and think that they met God or something. But shamans learn to hang out in these places for long periods of time until eventually they can live in this way without anyone knowing it all the time. The trick is to integrate these extreme things so that you don't end up schizophrenic, so you don't end up paranoid. But it's tricky. Paranoia and fear are different. And being scared is different altogether. So all different things. Fear is something that one can let go of. A lot of people that have had near-death experiences have learned to let go of fear. Doesn't mean they don't still have paranoia or they don't get scared, or that they aren't scared, or that they don't have PTSD in their body from the experiences that they had. And so learning to release the PTSD from your body is a tricky thing if you weren't able to shake it out when it happened. It's stored in your body and it eventually hopefully will surface, through emotional release. So allowing for that which needs to surface, whatever it is, trusting the process rather than trying to control it or fear it or limit it. But then again, things come up at inappropriate times, and it's okay to put a cap on things for a minute, depending, but it's also okay to let it happen, to let it come out. There's gonna be embarrassing moments, and then there's gonna be moments where it would be inappropriate to use that moment to express all of. So, but sometimes it just is what it is. Nothing to try to control again. That's where we get caught. So a lot of my crazy shamanic friends go to create those intense situations, so it's not organic, and then they get really confused. They try to force these changes. They fast for long periods of time. They try to hack things into being, and rather than listen, especially when the voice says, "Get a job," or things they don't want to hear. So they come up with ways to interpret that differently. That's okay. That's part of their journey. For other people, it's quit your job, and they can't hear that either. So I don't, rather than be extreme, transition. If you're being told to quit your job but you can't handle that, start transitioning away from the intensity of your addiction to work or your addiction to food. Not that I'm saying you should limit yourself, but we've brought addiction into all the beautiful things. it doesn't have to be there. You can enjoy the incredible world of food and all that it provides one's being without having it be an addiction. Same with sex. Same with music. A lot of my friends are music addicts. They travel the world to see music, as I used to pre tyranny, and it, yeah, shaking your bones, breaking open that energy, and getting yourself moving energy is key. Not that most people that are addicted to music most people don't have a sustainable relationship with that because of the unsustainable relationship with drugs, alcohol, or as with any addiction, we're often running from other things. So as long as you're not running from things, you can enjoy the incredible world that exists. And for me, live music is the most divine form of communication. It's between the band and the crowd, and when it's, especially an improvisational jam band that is responding to the love that is being exchanged between the dancers and the musicians. And obviously everything's changed so much now, and there's so much unconsciousness that's been spread, like the nothingness has spread, which is perfect and incredible in that it is, offering us the platform to develop and hone our awareness, to become conscious of the inversion. So, but you can still go out and navigate this world and enjoy the intensities that exist, and in doing so, one can unburden themselves and celebrate their existence. It's once you stop, I went through a period of losing my shields, but once I was able to step back into the world over a period of time, go able to meet really dynamic people and discover the gifts of the many, even though they're not people that are seeking to shatter the mirror of self-reflection. They still have a lot of incredible stories. And how else could you learn about humanity without interacting with it directly? You can't read about this stuff. You have to go out and have these experiences with different perspectives and know that you're interacting with yourself. On a cosmic level, you're interacting with yourself. So there's a lot of freedom in that, and a lot of joy when you rediscover that with all creatures, and so a lot of people get really self-righteous about the fact that they're doing it right and others are doing it wrong, and that is separation from source. That's the most complicated aspect of things. And so for me to speak about the inversion is to acknowledge my own being. I am the inversion. The inversion is teaching us about the self. We are in an entanglement with a deception. It's a powerful thing. It's called the phantom world. It's a copy. It's a dream projection based off of something that is real. But it's a way in which our energy can be harvested, so that we're being held in a form of bondage that's very energetic and hard to explain, and it sucks. And so we're in what essentially we think we're getting out of these things, but we're really just falling into different traps, because it's all entrapping, because we are entangled in that complexity that shamans don't know how to help us undo, other than to provide the warrior path, which I practice, which is personal. So a real healer, in my opinion, is someone that teaches someone how to heal themselves over time, and how you do that is through application. You have to apply the teachings. You can't just learn them. You have to experience them. And so what shamans talk about sounds crazy until it's applicable to your life. That can start off really small. It doesn't have to be extreme. Cultivate whatever you have in your life where that is available to you. And really cool, magical things will happen. But as we go to make really powerful changes in our life, so do the challenges come. And they're just, it's the way of it, it's okay. It's the challenge will come, and then you might feel like you fell backwards or whatever, but it's just the nature of your struggle. I had really powerful teachers for many years, but I'd come into their life and I'd have to leave for a while and process and go through what others might say, I fell out of balance or something. None of that is actually true. I just went to learn more. That's it. I may have told myself it was something negative, therefore I would lose energy, therefore, it just scales that way. But the reason I was successful is because I didn't tell myself that. I said, this is my shadow work. Or I didn't call it that at the time. I said, this is my desire. This is my following through with my longing. And that leads to you wanting to take incredible care of yourself once you really get to the heart of your pain. But in the process of discovering that, you go through stages of trying to fulfill the hungry ghost. How are you going to know about the hungry ghost unless you encounter it? So, in the real psychedelic realm, even talking sounds ridiculous. Right? Anyone that's even talking, it's like, why would you waste your words, right? Because you're just in these deeper layers. And so interacting with the world is a delicate, sensitive thing for dreamers. They pick up on lots of stuff. So it's a whole nother level of empathy than just being empathetic. And most empaths are just making excuses for the fact that they don't have their nervous system healed, which is okay, but rather than talk about it as if you're like this special person, But that doesn't mean that empaths aren't key. These people are in stages in which they think that because they're empaths, they have to be even more intense in their journey than ever, and so they create more and more empathicness. And some of them become the greatest animal communicators, and some of them become the great earth communicators, and I'm not at odds with their extreme story. But then they tell themselves, I can't do this and that'll take me out of balance. And because they believe that, they dance in that same pattern that shows up in all different things of good and bad, right and wrong. And we are all caught in that. So really, we're all just full of shit. We're all just insane. It's okay. It doesn't matter how far into something you've gotten. There's aspects of it that are hopefully going to teach you about the illusion itself. And that's where you realize you've been upholding a personality in order to survive something that doesn't even exist. And so your energy is caught in hypnosis of many layers deep. So I talk about that a lot, but it's hard to really understand. Watch the movie Inception again. They're telling you, but it's not in the way that, it's like kind of coded. You have to sort of decipher or see it. But dreaming is that powerful. So the people that write these stories, there's a show called Unknown. It's a kind of an animation that's worth. It's whoever people that read Castaneda wrote that shit, or I'm assuming I'm making that um, prediction. I'm not interested in validating it or anything. It doesn't matter to me. Hopefully they didn't, and that's even more validating. Very few people can talk about these things or see them, but writers that have done the dreaming work, or really spent time contemplating these possibilities, are really gifted at telling stories. And I'm a storyteller. I tell stories as a means to travel, or as a means to journey myself, or like for Rachel and I, or at times, what I did with my children was really powerful. It was really beautiful to be able to send them into dreaming with fresh feelings, not remembered stories, but channeled stories, fresh input, That's what a storyteller is, somebody that's receiving. It's kind of a guided meditation. It's a journey. It's you pluck something, right? So in the books, Carlos said that Don Juan referred to himself as a collection of stories, that he'd become empty and therefore a collection of stories. Which is, there's more to that than you can understand at this moment, hearing that. We are all storytellers. So everything we speak is intent. And because you are divinely directed and divinely protected, even though you may not know that or think you're not, your journey to that discovery is how you will be released. That song, I shall be released, you shall be released. It may not be the way you want to. For a lot of people, they don't find love and affection until they're in a motorcycle accident or some extreme event that really shows them what's the priority. And that priority is something unfathomable when it happens to you. You're flooded with affection. You receive direct, eternal expression. It's a very real moment. It can be subtle. It can be something that doesn't hit you for a while or days later sometimes, I've had a lot of really crazy experiences that moved my perception really far. So allowing that and having trust in that you are divinely directed and divinely protected is a simple concept that will break the shackles of fear eventually, hopefully, before you cross. Eventually, when you cross, you'll be free. Okay, so I shall be released. The more freedom, though, that you experience prior to that ultimate second birth, your death, in which all of your memories flood your being, which is why I talk about memory. The more one lets go, the more room one makes for these incredible experiences with self-reflection and contemplation, which can lead to shattering the mirror of self-reflection, which is to become abstract, to become a perceiver, we are all perceivers. what we do with that is the story that we tell. And we're also fortunate to be in the to have the opportunity. Everybody wants in here, whatever this may be, a dream, spell, trap, illusionary, inverted realm, but everyone wants in. It's a real rare gift to be here. And yet, the struggle is real, and there are things worse than death. Life can be pure horror for a child. So, there's no fairy world here. There's no way to spiritually bypass the pain. And yet, it's an illusion in which your nervous system is connected to. And you can, through shamanic arts, stop the world, unbind from the illusion, and survive actual events by moving your perception so far from this dream that you step out of it, or it no longer exists and you remain as if it was never there. So you are the only thing that's actually real, and everything around you exists essentially as a simulated, projected, linear dream sequence, like a long dream in which you are in a labyrinth, and everyone around you and with you is dreaming with you. There are some beings out there that are not like you, that look like you, that you think are like you, but they are not like you. So it's a whole exciting thing that's hard to accept, receive how incredible it is. But freedom comes from liberation. So how do you liberate yourself? What do you do in this world that sets your energy free? So that's why I traveled the world, to shake my bones, to see the best music in the world with the dopest people in the world, because that's me following my longing. And in that expression, I was alone. I was always alone. I'm not saying I was always alone truly, but I am alone in that I allow myself to be, no matter if I'm with 2 people or 30,000 people, I'm able to create my own bubble, my own boundary of energy that allows me to celebrate with the Earth Mother, no matter what, no matter how much concrete or, you are nature, so you don't need to be in nature to have access to the mother ever. It may seem that way, and that may be your journey in order to connect with her, and there's nothing like it. I'm not saying that it won't get to you by going to those layers of her elements of expression. That's how I became healed, through the fog and the wind and the sun. That's direct transmission. But eventually you can do it through astral projection and lucidity, and that's even better in a sense, because you're no longer needing to get into a car to go, or to walk a long distance to reach the thing that you love. It's just so accessible. But it doesn't mean you can't combine them. And that's the art of dreaming awake, which is the most beautiful thing. And I don't push a lot of the other kind of dreaming because I trust that my recapitulation work will lead to the more intense stuff that Carlos Castaneda wrote about, that my teacher, my elder, was able to do at a young age and all of his life. See, the dreaming sorcery world doesn't lead to a good life. Your heart being healed is what leads to a good life, whether it's sorcery or shamanism or just being. You're already amazing. I know that it's hard to receive that, but you are. You're not even a physical being. You're just a being of light, filled with feelings based on all that you've been through, not only in this life but in the other parallel ones. And you're caught identifying with this specific one, which is the spell. Story. Spell. How do we spell, and then how do we unburden our stories so that we can become a story, so that we can align with a magical story that is awaiting anyone that has the courage to step out of their personal fears, projections, assumptions, and limitations. Power is at your fingertips. Power is at the edges of your being, right staring at you, daring you to unlock your resources forever. Which is terrifying, and that's why we don't do it. That's why this takes time to come to terms with what can happen, with what is available, what is what accessibility, responsibility, impeccability. To be impeccable is to manage your being in the most harmonious way possible, given the environment in which you are currently in, not the environment in which you wish you were in. Not based on what you think is going to happen, but based on what your instincts are offering you. So shamans learn to go into their body and their cells and communicate with their organs and make sure everybody's happy. And they find cells that are not happy. They find parts of their being that just feel left out, not worked with. And so we want to learn to put our awareness into our body, into this illusion. This body is an illusion. But because we're in an illusion, we want to care for the illusion, love the illusion, say thank you for the opportunity. And I get that having gratitude for some people at certain stages is impossible, and you have my greatest sympathy. But it's worth discovering that you are not. Sometimes some people in the greatest depths discover this level of detachment that makes it all worth it. This place of just being willing to look at things square on, with nothing to buffer it, no fluff, no serotonin, no fake excitement, because a lot of people get caught up in what's going to happen and they're excited and then they feel happy and then all this stuff, and then it's just like everything's a letdown to them because they were basing feelings on that certain things could transpire. And we live in a yin yang, we live in a female male, dark light expression in which all kinds of events are going to continue to unfold that are based on both sides expressing themselves. Full forces rise to meet each other. Being attached to outcome is a very dangerous thing on any level. But it's okay to live your life and be called to and excited about the things that do it for you. And if you're passionate about events, there's nothing wrong with it. My point is there's a way to let go of your stake in whether you're right or wrong, whether you have an understanding of things. It should constantly be changing. It's based on something much more incredible than a fixed outcomes. So the wheel of time is magical, not stupid and predictable. And yet events are occurring in the future as we speak, right? They are, everything's happening. So you can get glimpses of what is currently happening within the timeline that you are in yourself, which is based on the words you speak, the story you tell yourself, which takes time to learn how to do differently than the program that taught you how to do it, which kept you sane so that you didn't end up unable to interact. So you're lucky that you're not like others who I know who were raised, unfortunately, without anyone to train them in their gifts. And so they just walked literally out into the world, mixing the realm of illusion, this realm of illusion mixed with the energy world itself. And they couldn't distinguish the difference as children because they were born from a powerful medicine man. Or other versions of this exist in the world. But yeah, particular stories are tragic and difficult, but we can learn so much from, and these are abstract cores, and these contracts that these people have are there to teach us everything about humanity, so it's all beautiful. It's all necessary. It's all a story. And I hope that you unlock yours, because it's rich. It's tied to your power, which is your pain, your suffering, your sorrow, misery, trauma, and your triumph from those events. Or maybe it's in your body from your parents through the epigenetics, and you want to research that. Get excited about this illusion. Embrace it for what it offers without being so caught in it, without being limited by its programmed heaviness, right? So you have to get lighter than the weight, if that makes sense. Like, you'll have to counter and be counterintuitive. So like the simulation, essentially, right, a, it is, and in that it's a phantom copy, a dream layer in which we aren't conscious, and we're being convinced that it's so real that we suffer tremendously over its pull on our nervous system. And so the miracle of breaking through that, regardless of how much suffering we've been through, the laughter that happens when you stop taking everything so seriously and it starts to come to light what's going on, and then how your magnetism and your relationship with joy and sadness expands your heart, changes the trajectory of your desire, which is to be in alignment with your greatest feeling, right? Because we're all filled with these feelings, but we navigate toward that which is the strongest, most beautiful one. And then we build our life around that, hopefully, right? So hopefully you just start to become abstract, and, for those of you that are ready to branch into just pure feeling, it's okay to stop talking to yourself and just spend time in pure feeling. And I know it's hard to get to at first, but once you do, go for it. Like, don't worry. It's love. It's pure love. This whole system is love. You are, but how one gets to the place where they can accept it, that they could even conceive of that as a story that could be theirs. That's the labyrinth. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.